What is your favourite mayor in Hypixel Skyblock? Well, if you like Slayers, you're probably going to say Aatrox. If you like Dungeons, you're probably going to say Paul. If you somehow like farming, I'm kidding, you can like whatever you want, then you might say Finnegan. You can kind of see where I'm going. Depending on what you like to do in Skyblock or what you're grinding at that period of time will basically determine who you vote for in the mayor elections. Now at the moment we've got a pretty cool situation where we can vote for Derpy. Who doesn't love Derpy? But my favourite mayor isn't any of the obvious ones. It's not Derpy, it's not Jerry, it's not Aatrox, it's not any of the obvious candidates. My favourite mayor is this lovely woman right here, Mayor Nancy. We've actually had to go onto the alpha server to even view Mayor and Minister Nancy. I'm obviously joking, this is not my favourite mayor. Because, well, if you don't know really who Nancy is, we'll get to that soon. But for the purpose of this video, I thought I'd just lie. Now, basically Nancy is a placeholder. A placeholder for when there's no mayor elected on the alpha server. And if you interact with Nancy, she'll tell you that she is just that. I'm just a placeholder because apparently no one voted on the previous election, which makes sense because this is the alpha server. You know, Minister Nancy will tell you the exact same thing. Now, what's actually kind of cool is this is the alpha server, and in these patch notes for this alpha server right now, it does list that Nancy got an updated skin, because previously it was the same skin as Clerk Seraphine, and it was a little bit confusing. Anyway, where am I going with this? Well, you can actually elect Mayor Nancy under a few very, very specific scenarios and situations. And I thought it would be cool today if we had a little chat and had a little bit of an investigation into how we could go ahead and do that. Oh yeah, and as far as we know, Mayor Nancy doesn't really do anything, doesn't really have any perks, because it's not a mayor that's intended to be elected. Anyway, let's see how this could possibly work. Before we go any further, if you are planning on purchasing anything from the Hypixel store, make sure to use code NITROS as it gets yourself 5% off. You should join the Discord server, it's linked in the description of this video. We offer Slayers and Dungeon carries, so if you need carries or want to carry and make some coins, make sure to join. Also, if you're not already, you should subscribe to the channel. Now, if you search for Nancy on the wiki, there's not really a whole lot of information, to be completely honest. It tells us stuff that we can already infer. Nancy is an NPC that stands inside the community centre. She appears when no mayor or no minister has been elected that Skyblock year. Doesn't specify on the alpha server. Because special mayors do not have ministers, Nancy is guaranteed to show up when nobody is elected. And as I mentioned before, it says here that Nancy has the same skin as Clerk Seraphine, which on the current alpha server isn't actually true anymore. So that got me thinking, well, from reading that and reading the description of Nancy, how can we actually go ahead and elect Nancy? Well, my first thought would basically require an impossible task to be carried out. And because one of the ways that Nancy's elected, it is simply by nobody being elected in the previous election, which means that would require nobody to vote in the election at all, not even one person. That means that we would somehow have to figure out a way to make it so that nobody could vote on the election. Now, even if every single person in the world with a YouTube channel uploaded a video every single day for those days where the election is actually active, telling nobody to vote in the Hypixel Skyblock elections, what would stop a new player coming on and clicking a button? You know, it's kind of impossible to stop unless something was put in place where nobody could vote at all. It's pretty much impossible for that to happen. So theoretically it could happen, but realistically it's just not possible. Now obviously this mayor's not supposed to be elected, hence why there's not really any perks at all. But it kind of got me thinking, is there any other way that this mayor could be elected? Well, I found this forum post that was actually posted yesterday. By Fish in a Bottle. We can elect Mayor Nancy, and all we have to do is boycott Derpy. Now, at first I didn't really understand this, but I'm going to read on. Nancy never actually shows up in the mayor cycle, fortunately, but because of another mayor's perk, it is possible. Diaz has a perk where she is elected mayor, the minister shows up in the election booth with all the perks, and during special mayor elections, if the special mayor is elected, Nancy is made the minister. Like I'm missing a comma or something because I still don't really understand. And I assume, from what I'm trying to understand, it must be referring to this long investment perk. The elected minister will appear in the next election with all of their available perks. So, in other words, what that means is if we don't elect Derpy, but instead we elect Diaz, but make sure that Derpy is second, that means we'll get Mayor Diaz and Minister Derpy. If we elect Diaz with this perk and have Derpy as the runner-up, then either we get Derpy twice or we get Nancy as a new mayor. Now is the time we strike, boycott Derpy, elect Nancy. Read Mayor Diaz with Minister Derpy for Science. I want to know if the system can even handle something like this. And then there's just more people saying vote Diaz and boycott Derpy. No, in real terms, there's probably more chances of aliens landing tomorrow in the middle of New York and it being broadcasted to the world. Unfortunately, it's a closed election, so I can't even see how far ahead Derpy is, but I'm pretty damn sure that Derpy is going to be really far ahead. Also, I voted Derpy. I want Cole. I want Diaz. I mean, in real terms as well, Mayor Nancy would be a waste of time, considering she has no perks. Now, in real terms, Mayor Nancy would be bad. You know, it's just kind of a waste of a rotation, considering that, you know, Nancy has no perks. However, it would just be cool and funny to see what happens, or even if it would happen. I mean, at the end of the day, most mayors are kind of implemented into the game to give us some sort of buffs. You know, not 100% of the time, which means that you can't completely write off a mayor that doesn't do anything. Then there's also a thread on Reddit, the best website ever to exist, which is titled Don't Give In, Vote Diaz, and was created 15 hours ago. Now, Diaz's perk seems to be creating quite a lot of uncertainty. Derpy might not be in the next election because he doesn't have a minister perk. Well, we don't know that. The worst thing that can possibly happen is Derpy isn't in the next election and we have to wait a while for the next one. But at least then, we get to know it's not possible for a special mayor to be affected by Diaz's perk. And we won't need to consider this ever again. Even for other special mayors, probably. Best case scenario is that Derpy runs again next year, and we know special mayors are affected by Diaz's perk. Either way, we gain new information on how the perk works in special cases like this, and even then, at the end of the day, we still get a full perk Diaz, which even though is not as good as Derpy, it's still a very good mayor. If we vote for Derpy, we get temporary buffs for a few days, but if we vote Diaz, we get knowledge that can be used for future special case elections like this one. This to me is honestly just really cool, because if it turns out that Mayor Nancy isn't possible, we could potentially get 2 Derpies in a row, give or take. Or that also might not happen either. I guess in that case, another possibility is we could have Minister Nancy. Bit of a strange one. Let me know in the comments if you're going to be voting for Diaz. I have, because I guess it'd just be funny to cause a bit of chaos. And obviously, to understand what actually happens if this sort of situation does happen, I mean, it never should organically happen. Who's not going to vote for a special mayor, even if it's one of the maybe slightly worse ones like Scorpius or who knows. You know, you still want to vote for them because they don't come around very often. So if you'll ever have a reason, you know, if I've ever had a reason to convince you not to vote for Derpy, and if you've never had a reason also not to vote for Derpy, you know, here is the reason. Give it a try. Let's vote for Diaz. And let's see what happens. For the greater good of Slyblock. For science. You know, you can vote for whoever you want. If you want to vote for Derpy, vote for Derpy. I'm not going to be too fussed at the end of the day. But anyway, it's an interesting situation. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. Anyway, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.